And there you have it. I was back here grooving a little bit. Yeah,
My country, actually.
I
Not too
like that. So welcome to Skrill Town Talk.
Thank you.
I am your host tonight, Mr. Skrill Town himself, and we have the lovely, multi-talented composer and sound designer Jackie Joy.
Hello. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, and tell them where you're coming from. Where are you from?
I'm
Where are you
coming
at?
from daylight.
Ah,
Midday, Australia. So Brisbane, Queensland. And it's not really well known around the globe, except in 2032, we're going to have the Olympic Games here after LA. So it'll become a bit more on the map from there. Most people know Sydney from Australia. So
yeah.
yeah. And
Okay.
Melbourne. So it's sunny. It's very sunny here.
Okay, so how far are you from Sydney?
Probably about a day's car drive, so 1,000 or so kilometres. So if you're flying a plane down there, about an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. Good deal.
Yeah.
So are you known as being in the land down under?
Absolutely, and very
Yeah, the land down under. That's the only thing I know. Listen to songs.
on the Barbie.
Yeah, the Barbie. Yeah, strip on the Barbie like at Outback.
Absolutely. Yeah. So and koalas.
Koalas. Okay.
But the US is very welcoming to us Aussies. It's I've been very heartened by. Most of my work is remote. For LA and US filmmakers.
Well,
as well.
Yeah, well, welcome to our show. I'm going to give you a little backstory on Jackie Joy. She is a 5-time nominated Hollywood Music and Media Awards composer. She also received a Hollywood Independent Music Award nomination for mixing and engineering of her retro dance song release, You'll Feel Nothing, featuring singer, composer, and activist Nomi Abadi in 2023. Her most interesting award was in 2021 when she won Best Sound Design for the dystopian short film Gardenia, filmed in LA during the pandemic lockdown at the Boobs and Blood International Film Festival, which focuses on women in the film industry and screens grindhouse genre films. And then it says she also works with Prime Court Music, affiliated with Flick Tracks Music LA. And as a result, you can hear her work on TV shows such as Bondi Rescue, various crime. It's Bondi Rescue.
Bondi Beach? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Bondi Rescue.
Bondi Beach. Yeah, lifeguards at Bondi.
Oh, the Bondi. Okay. Various crime shows, including most recently Murder Uncut, and other shows, including Great Australian Bake Off. And then what else we have? She's worked for many years developing music for Expedia travel guides. That's very incredible. And she was invited to become an AVA judge a few years ago. And then one more thing, she is a member of the AGSC and recently had one of her tracks featured in a Women in Music playlist on SoundCloud. She is also a member of the AWFC, which is the Alliance for Women in Film Composers, Female Composers Safety League, and the Mamas in Music. Wow, you've done a lot. Yeah, well, welcome. That is... Man, that's a lot. So tell me, how did you get started in this? Like, what made you want to do composing and sound design?
Well, I wasn't born. I always loved pop music and music generally.
Mm-hmm.
But I never really wanted to be a composer or sound designer till about probably 5 years ago. Someone told me to go into film. I was writing for Expedia Travel and writing corporate music, and then someone said, "Hey, you should, try your hand at film music," because I'd written. Probably the turning point was a music track I wrote for Jordan, actually, which is the country Jordan, and
the country Jordan.
Yeah.
Mm,
Very cinematic and Middle Eastern, and suddenly people said, "You should try film composing."
mm-hmm,
So I did, and I was lucky enough to get work, which is
mm,
always hard when you're
yeah.
starting out. And I just loved it. I got given, a blank film, and
Mm-hmm.
just the magic started when you're just trying to play with people's emotions, whether it's horror or whatever.
Yeah.
Especially horror. It's very fun because I haven't watched. I'm going to ramble on. I haven't watched a lot of horror films, but you see a cut of a horror movie with no music, and then suddenly you just go, "Wow!" You can just play
Yeah.
people's emotions, lift them up, bring them down, jump scares, and it felt really magical to me. And that also in that genre, it's very heavily sound design. So
Yeah.
bangs, hits, textures. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I also started doing that as well. And people said, "Hey, can you help out with sound design here or there?" Because as part of my demos, I'd throw it in
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
when I was demoing to filmmakers. So I just sort of went into that area as well. And
Right. Right.
yeah, actually, for that Gardini, the dystopian short film, I was given pretty much a blank slate with no sound,
Mm-hmm.
fill it all in, which was an amazing. Well, there was a couple of characters, but they didn't talk very much, so there wasn't much
Mm-hmm.
dialogue, and I had to fill in the whole soundscape. So I
Wow.
found my thing.
Yeah. So what's your background in? Like, how did you like find out, or how did you learn how to compose music?
Well, I started late because at
Mm-hmm.
school, high school, and primary school, it wasn't really encouraged for women to be in music, to be honest. So I tried to play the drums
Yeah.
and do things, but no, it wasn't for women, they said. So
Mm-hmm.
I started out anyway, and I started teaching myself electric guitar just at home
Mm-hmm.
with headphones on. Then I took some singing lessons, and then I was a physiotherapist. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually went into sports sort of physio and then, but I thought, oh no, I really want to sing. So I
Mm-hmm.
joined a live duo and I taught myself some guitar. And
Mm-hmm.
my first gig was on this bus. I'd never played in front of anyone. 4 hours of guitar music. So
4 hours.
it was 4 hours of this bus trip around Brisbane. Few stops here and there because I was going, what am I going to play next? So I had
Mhm.
a partner who'd played before and he sort of gave me some chords and I'd be going, but look, I mean, I enjoyed it and I knew I could wing
Yeah.
it easily and I could sing, had a few lessons and then it just developed from there and it built into a 5 night a week gig. I
Mm.
doing gigs around the local area, Brisbane, and the Gold Coast, which is about an hour south of Brisbane, which you've
Yeah.
heard of. That's a place where a lot of the US visitors come to, the Gold Coast, sort of lovely beaches. So,
Mhm.
like casinos there and, pubs and clubs. And then I had kids, so I couldn't really get out and about as much. So I learned how to write music on the computer. And that led
No.
to writing music, learning how to write music. Well, for Expedia, I started doing it for Expedia. I originally
Yeah.
a flight centre. I'd sort of had a couple of little gigs, and then it just built up, and
Mhm.
uh, I sort of learnt world music through Expedia, and then sort of found film composing.
So how did you get connected with like how do you get connected with like Expedia or something like that? Did you have to make submissions and stuff, or like how do they just be like, oh yeah, this is who we want to go with?
Yes, well, myself and my husband, my husband, he's in
Mm-hmm.
IT, and we were uh, we I was helping him with his company, and they do a lot of travel and tourism, and they were doing Flight Centre in Australia. And
Mm-hmm.
together we were thinking, wouldn't it be great to work with Expedia?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and wouldn't it be great to do Expedia videos? So together we developed up some demo videos, and I did the
Yeah.
music, did the vision, and actually the first one was for LA or San Francisco. So we did a couple of those. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and they were accepted. So suddenly I was the musician for Expedia.
Expedia. Wow.
It was a good break. It was a bit of a risk, but
Yeah.
we pulled it off, and those videos have been really popular because they appeal to people that can't travel as much, or
Yeah.
people traveling and planning trips, but also the people are at home sitting in the couch. I'd love to travel one day. Where do I want to go? Or they're very informative and
Yeah.
very popular. So that's
So
how I got to work with them.
wow. So and you just had that long standing relationship, it looks like, with them.
Yes.
So yeah, so what's the process of, like, let's just use Expedia. What will be the process of not exposing, composing a song, like, or I mean, or a beat or a track for that?
Okay, so for Expedia, there will be a destination. So just say we went back to Jordan, which I was talking about earlier, or things
Hmm.
like another big one has been Iceland was a big one, or Osaka. So you have to get the sounds of the local country first up.
Hmm.
So develop a sound palette. So for Jordan, it was the beat and the rhythm, which with your music is very important. So we had to get a good beat, good rhythm, and some good sounds over it. What for these particular videos, we'll develop loops.
Hmm.
So there'll be timing loops, for example. So they'll cut to my timing loops. So you
Mm.
work at a certain BPM. That is flexible, so you might do 70, 140, or it depends on what the video is going to do. With Jordan, it was more like a certain BPM, and then you'll drop instruments in and out. So just say, I can't remember the BPM for that, maybe 80.
Hmm.
And then you would develop 5 different variations. So you'd have the main theme, sub theme, more pads and ethereal, or just sort of ambient variation.
Hmm.
Because you'd get the script. So
Yeah. Yeah.
script, and you go, okay, I might need these 5 different types of things,
Hmm.
and then you would give them the 5 timing loops, and then they would cut the video. I think the Jordan one might have been, I don't know, 20 minutes. So they would
Hmm.
cut minutes for you and put all your timing loops in on a timeline, and then you'd get that back, and then you would go through and develop that into a full track using your timing loops as a base, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it
you would,
makes sense. Hmm.
so you'd have a really good solid start with the 5, but then you might develop 50 for that one, maybe 15 to 20 variations, and try and
Mm.
join them together and make it flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
certainly a process, pretty tight process, and it allows
Hmm.
for a fairly quick turnaround for long videos as well as the short ones.
So do you give them examples, like one, two, three, like when you send them to them, do you, like, all right, here's my 3
Yes,
options, or here's your 3 options? Is that how that works?
yes, yep. So I'll be going back and forth. For the Jordan one, the first option just worked because
Hmm.
I was not
Wow.
confused with what I'll send off, and that one you just knew it was right. But yes, so sometimes you'd say, "Hey, I've got 4 here. Which one do you prefer as a starter?" Absolutely. So once you
Yeah.
get the starting point, then you can develop those variations, and then you're off.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
it sort of ran. It was a fairly tight ship in the end. So we could
Hmm.
these things out quickly.
And how many times a year would you say you have to do that, for different cities or countries, or etc.?
Well, it's starting up again, and it will be every 2 weeks. So I'm not
Wow.
sure what the videos will be. They're going to be reformatted. It's quite exciting. So
Hmm.
developing, but 2 weeks is the answer. Yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously, a 20-minute one is different to doing a 10-minute one. It depends on the city. So yes,
Mm.
if I get a 20-minute one for 2 weeks, it'll probably mean I'll get another composer to help me with the other one. So I will get assistance. I can write,
Wow.
but if you get a couple of 20-minute ones, you sort of, it does take time to get it right.
Yeah. So you stay pretty busy just by doing that, that alone.
Yeah, but I'm lucky I've got a lot of composers around me that I can call on to help, so I can also
Yeah.
do things
Right.
in the film world and also the TV world. So so I don't get bored.
Right. Now, making money, you never get bored making money. Yes, yeah. But right. So how would you explain sound design? That's something that I'm not familiar with. Like, how did you get into that, and how would you explain that?
I got into it by, I suppose, with indie films, when you're demonstrating your music, you're often demonstrating it to temp dialogue and sound effects. Anyway, so to make this is how I got into it. To make the demo sound better, I'd replace a lot of the sound effects and the demo and just actually make the whole thing sound really good. So the music sounded really good to get it cut. I just enjoyed doing that. So what sound design is often like your atmos. So if you're in a room, a certain room, you'll have an atmosphere. Then you'll Foley. So if you're clapping, you'll put the clap in.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff is replaced afterwards. So your clicks and your claps and drinking water, sipping water. You've got that's
right. Oh, okay, I get you.
You've got the Foley. Then you've got sound effects. So especially in trailers, with the sound effects, you've got the big booms and the crashes. Textures, transitions, so like your whooshes, sound, and dialogue. You process the dialogue. That's part of your sound work. And then you've got what have I got? Anyway, and then you've got your music. So you mix it all together, and that's a sound mix. So I like with your music, you've got the drums, bass, keys.
Yeah.
Mix it all together. So
right.
For the sound design music mix, you'd have the Foley, the dialogue, the atmos, the music, and any extra creative sound design.
So are you doing this for like just scenes or the whole entire movie?
The entire movie. So yes, can be quite time consuming. When there's a heavy sound design sort of movie, I did one that was about 20 minutes, and there was a lot like a sci-fi one. So I was like, they had people in caves, they had people, there were aliens, in a water world. There was just so many varieties in the desert, so you had a lot of sound design. So I kept that to 20 minutes. So a feature for that would take a long time. But I'd love to do a horror feature with sound design and music one day. It would just take a fair bit of time. But there are opportunities out there to possibly do that. I'd love to do a bit of horror sound design, I think. Because you can get creativity.
So my question would be like so someone presents you, what's the process of someone coming to you for sound design? Like maybe a director or something like that, or a supervisor, music supervisor.
Okay, so with that particular sci-fi film, they sent me a copy of it and said, hey, heard you do sound design. I'd done sound design for another film, and they'd heard it. And they said, yep, we like that. They come to me, can you do it for our film? And I said, yes. I give them a minute demo. I say, can you give me the film? I'll do a minute demo of the first thing just to make sure you're happy with my feel and tone. So I like being quite bold with my sound design, bang, especially.
Right.
So, yep, they like it. So I'll finish it off. What they give me is often temp sound design that the editor will put in, temporary sound design. So if you've got an alien or something appearing, you'd have, basically a guide sound, which would often show you the timing. It depends on the editor, and don't add much in at all. But often the editors I work with, I'm lucky, they'll give me a bit of a guide track of, yes, we want something here and something there, and you'll just fill it out with layers and punch and add sort of all that. Basically, that it might have been 10% done, and you just get that to 100%. So you'll go through in a scene and add. I'll go through in layers. I'll do a scene at a time. I'll add sort of the atmos if it needs anything. For example, the cave would need sort of certain sound, echo on the voices or reverb, and also that, cave sound.
Yeah, that wind or that tunnel.
A bit of wind on the outside, absolutely. Then you would add the Foley. So someone had dropped a phone in this particular scene and it smashed up rocks. So you do your rock sound, your phone sound, your echo sound of the phone crashing down, and footsteps. Footsteps is a Foley thing. So always lots of footsteps. And often whether it's breathing, and then you would go through the dialogue and correct that for the room, and sound effects. When the aliens appear, a tunnel appears, or you've got the phone effects. But yeah, then you have fun with like, a big portal appears, and you go, how can I make that sound more interesting? Someone puts their arm through this portal. And you can go, ooh, and they pull it back out again. You can really have fun.
Yeah.
Bangs, because you just see it and someone's putting their arm in and out. It sort of looks fairly boring, but you can really make it sound very exciting, with ramping up, whooshing down, texture, add creative stuff in there. And it's just a lot of experimentation and fun until you get it to the point where when you've got it right, because you watch the scene and you just forget the sound design and everything, and you just get engrossed with, what's going to happen next? Oh, God's got this arm in the portal. What's going to happen? So that's when you sort of know you've done enough to sort of present it back to the filmmaker.
Right.
Comments, and you get on to the next thing.
So do you mix these effects and these sounds prior to sending it to them, or do you wait until they approve it and then mix it for sound?
You will do it definitely a draft mix. You would know with the songs, it's good to get it sounding as good as possible first up, because then they're not having to imagine it. Because if you send it and say, just imagine it mixed, they'll just go, they just want to hear it. And I'm fairly quick at doing the draft mixes. So I'll probably mix it quite well when I'm sending it off. And then, of course, you can do a final mix, which would incorporate all the scenes and getting the levels right and everything. But I'll send it off fairly heavily mixed, just because then it's more likely to have a good impact and a good, good feedback.
Yeah, that good quality sound.
Absolutely. Why mix it afterwards, if you've got
that
beforehand? And you often go.
Yeah. So where do you get the creativity for these movies where you can do like that sound design? Like, where does that come from? Like, how do you come up with a plan like for a movie or a short film or commercial or so forth?
I'm lucky. It often just comes to me. It's sort of not something I have to try very, very hard at. But if I'm sort of, if I'm looking for inspiration, I'll often, look at, have you got a reference movie? I'll ask the filmmaker. Are there any reference movies that you like and sounds or feels that you like if I'm sort of searching? So then I will do some research in what other people have done, what sounds I've got, and the vibe of that, whether it's a, heavily sound design or a bit more subtle. But often I will just experiment and just sort of feel my way through what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But sometimes if people have specific ideas, I will just research and sort of go in that direction initially, but then sort of adjust it to, to make, I like giving these films their own personality, something you can add to it and layers, and so you'll have a sound that actually is something that, with a piece of music, you've got a motive or a theme. So with sound, I like that too. So you've got a little sound theme, or so something you'll listen to and you'll relate back to the movie, and you can repeat that throughout. It helps make sense too when you've got certain characters or certain things they're doing. So I'll develop that along the way as well. Hopefully that answered that question. But
no, it does. I'm just trying to visualize this. That's real. I'm actually doing exactly what you would do when you get these films. I'm trying to visualize step by step how things would go, and so I'm just trying to put it in perspective. So tell us a little bit about the process of the Bondi Rescue and how you.
I'll just quickly reverse back to, sometimes you get films in different like completion, like they'll give you a scene or a whole film, so it's always a bit different. Bondi Rescue. Now, do you know Bondi Beach?
I don't. Yeah, I'm not familiar with it.
It's like the beach in Australia. So
Really?
lifeguards there, and that's and they obviously do a lot of rescuing, so it's a lifeguard show. Very popular, entertaining, and it's gone around the world.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but it's just not clicking right now because I watch
Yeah,
a lot of those type of shows, so pretty sure I've seen it.
yeah, sort of like Baywatch, I suppose, but reality.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what? I think I have seen it. I think I
Oh,
have seen it.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not quite as anyway. So I work with Primacord in Sydney, and they also work
Mm-hmm.
with in LA. I think so. Primacord took this one on, and they'll give us a brief. So
Mm-hmm.
for this, actually for that one, there was a bit of sound I did for it. So uh, they wanted sound effects going in and out of the water, the camera going in and out of the water. So I gave them 10 options of going in and coming out. So you design a sound effect, like it could be, wet water. So you'd have the sound coming in of the camera, like a build up, like a shh, and then you go splash, and then a bubble or something.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
And usually in three, there's usually an in, a hit point, and an out, and the texture. So I
Right.
give options for that, and then also they give us usually a few ideas of what sort of tracks they want for this particular season. So they'll say, hey, we're looking for this season, we're looking for this type of track. They'll give you a few references, and we need 5 different moods. So what you would do is, write a minute 30 to about 2 minutes track with cut points and send it on. And you would do probably about 20 stems sometimes, like you do cut down stems, uh, transitions. So you make that track, give them a lot of options. So if they like the track, they can cut it up and use it, edit it into the show. So I sent in a couple of tracks for that. So and the editors use them. So, but it's a process where you send it to Primacord, and they will just let you know if they think it's on point, and then they'll send the track through, and then you can see a use for it. They'll pop it in the show. And then
Wow.
variations, because sometimes you might use 10 seconds of it, or you might use a note
Yeah.
or a hit or a so they're really quite flexible tracks. And I really enjoy doing that. I suppose I'm used to writing in sort of loops or, breaking a track down from all the Expedia work I've done rather than cinematic. So it's a cross between songwriting, writing an actual song and, I suppose cinematics. Yeah. So that's
Wow.
where I fit quite nicely, because I've always sort of writing, in, as songs, but, now I've had to stretch myself out into, composition for, film, which is a little bit different.
Well, and I guarantee once you start getting the rapport with these different companies and these different directors, then they recommend you, or they recommend, it's like a certain group. Once you get that good rapport going or good chemistry, it's like, nah, we're going to only deal with these 3 composers or these
Yes,
3 sound designers, and it's just more
absolutely.
work and more work. And that's good.
Yeah.
And it's good for the culture. And the thing that I like is that, I've never met a sound designer. So I'm talking to you and I'm asking you questions and I'm really interested. Like, I'm not just asking questions with answers that I already know, because a lot of times when you interview people, you kind of know the answer that they're going to, but with you, I'm like seriously interested. Like, yeah, I've never met anyone that composed the whole entire movie or sound designed the whole entire script. So yes, it's very interesting, and it's one of those things where people, when they think about entertainment, they think about a few key jobs, and that's it. They don't think about the composers. They don't think about the sound designers or people that actually create the score of the movie. So
Unless
you
it's
know,
really bad. Then they
yeah. Then they want to look them up. They try to let me find out who made this. Yeah,
go,
yeah. So I'm gonna look on here. Let me make sure I find it right. Okay, so the you'll feel nothing track. Tell us a little bit on how that started, how you got the collaboration with what is her name, Nomi Abadi, and tell me
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
Yes, that was interesting. That was originally written for a film and it wasn't used. So I thought, well, I really like the track, or they were going to use
Hmm.
it differently. So I had, I'd written it. So I thought, okay, great. I wanted to release it as a track and go through that process of releasing a song. So I'd
Hmm.
met Naomi. I'd actually met her. You talk a bit about social media. I'd met her on Facebook. It was a great
Mm.
on Facebook for composers, and I'd sort of followed her and we'd sort of interacted a little bit. I knew she was a singer and a composer, and just a really amazing lady to watch what
Yeah.
she does. And I thought her voice would really suit this because I sort of did a bit of research. And so I'd had this track. I had to sort of change it a little bit because it was
Hmm.
originally a cyberpunk track. So I reimagined a little bit into like a, I suppose like a Kylie track with retro cyberpunk sounds. So I thought, okay,
Hmm.
together, see how it sounds. And look, the backing was good. And then I reached out to her and just asked for I'd put my guide vocal on it, so she knew it
Hmm.
was going to be sung. I
Hmm.
also had a friend rewrite the lyrics because I'd written some of the lyrics, but we needed to rewrite it because this song may have been used in the film in a different way. So
Right.
okay, rewrote the lyrics. I re-sang it, sent it to Naomi, and I was so thrilled. She said yes, she'd do it and lay her vocals down. Obviously, she's
Yeah.
away. I'm in Australia. Um,
Hmm.
so what she did, I sent her the song, and she did her vocals, laid it down with an engineer friend of hers, Kia. I was just so grateful, and then she laid down some like backing vocals, got it back
Hmm.
perfectly, laid it down, mixed it in, mastered it, and it
Wow.
that really well. So the remote collaboration thing was amazing, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to meeting her in person in July. Actually, I still have not met her in person, so.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. So y'all get to meet. That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
get to meet all these people who have helped me out. So
Are
yeah,
you going
that's
to the Hollywood? Is that the Hollywood Independent?
Hollywood. Actually,
Yeah.
I'll probably go there to the music awards just for a bit of fun. I don't know if I'll get a track in there, but
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to go there in July. And there's also a film that's uh, what is it, premiering. So I want to go and
Oh,
I'll miss out on the premiere, but I'll get to meet all the people there for that too.
yeah.
So, yeah, go and have a bit of fun there and meet some of these
Hmm.
wonderful people that have involved me with their films. I feel very lucky. It's a real honour, and they've got to
Yeah.
trust to, you know, make. I mean, it's a big part of the film, as you say. People don't really notice the audio, but they notice when it's not right.
Right. Right. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
and
then you
that's
gotta.
a film too.
Well, and if you don't have the audio right, the film's not as interesting. You know what I mean? Like it don't. It could be the greatest film in the world, but the score got to be right. Excuse me. The score got to be right. The tracks. The music has to fit the scenes.
Yeah,
Um,
and
yeah.
it can
So it's
tone too. It sets that tone that the filmmaker wants to express. So,
yeah.
but yeah, and yeah, it's so it can sometimes, and often I'll work closely with the filmmaker, especially with the
Hmm.
Stars Unseen movie film, and we back and forward a lot just to get that tone right,
Yeah.
make it even better. And she had some great ideas, and she was so proud of that score at the end. It was really amazing to see that, you know, working so closely with a filmmaker can just make something, something
Hmm.
we're very proud of. Yeah.
So, out of all the films or projects that you've done, which one has given you the most challenge?
Probably the one film that was cut up into a lot of pieces over COVID. So I scored it as 13 pieces. It
Mm.
was a short film, so a minute each, and then I had to keep joining it together. But that
Hmm.
taught me a real process. That was probably the technically most challenging. Um, just putting all the pieces together because I was doing the sound design, and I had to really get my process going of multiple projects. Like I had about 13 projects, putting it into one project and navigating that whole thing. As far as music goes, look, the most recent one I did was really challenging. It was a pole-to-pole navigation movie with Robert De Laurentiis, the pilot, and I had to pull that music together quickly. And they were ready to basically, they said, let's put the music to it and off we go. So that had to be very quickly. So that was 2 hours, and I polished that off. I'd had some demo tracks, themes accepted. So I had a head and a great editor I worked with, but I had to pull that together. Like, it was about 3 weeks or something. It was like really, really quick.
Yeah.
Like it was music throughout with documentaries that, heavily music based. So that was probably the biggest challenge, just because I had to bring everything together that I knew and put 2 hours together really quickly. And in about 3 weeks, I pulled it all together. So that was probably the biggest challenge. That's called Citizen of the World, and that's just wrapped in post-production. And I think it's working its way to, I'm not sure where it's going to be screened, so I have to reach out and find out what's happening.
Yeah.
Worked out really well. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So my question would be, in regards to this, since you're a busy lady, you're a busy woman in entertainment, how do you manage your time, and how important is time management?
Obviously, very, very important. And you've got to fit in that exercise, as you know, somewhere.
You do.
But I've found fitting in exercise and doing a bit of yoga and stuff, and I can sort of listen while I'm doing it and sort of multitask. You have more energy and focus to do the work. So, you might miss, half an hour, but you get it back in your efficiency. So time management is very, very important. And there are days when I know I'm on, and I'll just do 3 or 4 days, and I'll work late. Late nights, early mornings, late nights, early mornings. Not a lot of sleep. Then I'll just have a day or two off. So I just have to sort of go with how I'm feeling with particular projects, and know when to rest up. But time management is important, and I've just had to learn that as I go along. I'm fairly lucky; I can sort of do things fairly quickly, unless I'm tired. But obviously, you've got to have that balance. Making sure
that work-life balance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I seem to be threading the needle with that at the moment, so it's going okay.
So tell us how much growth means to you from the beginning of this journey to now.
It's become very important, growth, absolutely. And I feel like each day I'm just learning more and more from the people around me, from just trial and error and learning different genres. Like there's a lot of growth genres. Like I've covered most genres. So growth obviously is super important, because as a composer or sound designer, you got to be flexible, because you don't know what your next project is. And often, because you've done a number of different genres, you bring in hybrids. You've got to develop your own sound. You should understand. I suppose you've got to, expand your mind, say, not I just want to do this. You've got to try and do everything first, and then bring together your sound. So I suppose growth leads to defining yourself as an artist, and there's so many composers out there and sound design. You've got to have your own sound, and so people know who you are, because there are a lot of people that sound like composers, certain composers, but you're not going to get hired for sounding like someone else at the end of the day, because
you got to make it your own.
So growth in that way, I'm open to it, and personal and musical and sound design and everything growth. I think, and having inspiring people around me has really helped me grow.
Yeah. So I got 2 more questions. One is, how important is reputation in your industry?
It is everything because it's incredibly important because that's how you get work, and that's
Hmm.
people you're always. It's a small world, so
Yeah.
I'll meet someone who knows someone else, whether it's an actor, like they've worked on the same film. So you start getting to know, as well as the filmmakers, directors, producers, the actors, and also the sound
Hmm.
people. It's a small world. So it's
Yeah.
incredibly important because, I mean, when I'm hiring people to help me, you want to know they're professional, number one, can
Yep.
deliver, have good quality control, easy to work with,
Hmm.
and not too big an ego. Someone that's happy to collaborate and work with you. So if you've got those things in a reputation, you people will be open to work with you. As soon as you get
Yeah.
a reputation, I suppose, of difficult to being worked with or something, you just sort of wouldn't go down well.
Right. Right.
People want people that can help them. uh, You know, that can help solve their problems. They need a good score. They just need someone that's going to help them, not create more drama. So yeah,
Right.
reputation is super important. Being
Mhm.
professional, easy to work with.
Okay, and then last question for any aspiring composers or sound designers: what words of wisdom and advice would you be able to give to them?
So circling back, try and find your own sound. So that's opening yourself up to a lot of different projects to learn what your sound is and what's your stamp on being a musician or sound design. Finding your own thing that you enjoy doing.
Hmm.
Um, Probably got a few bits. The other one would be, well, you never be lazy and work hard. Work hard to mix and master you know, expand. Don't just be a composer with one instrument. Learn to collaborate and also mix and master and present your music as best you can. It's very hard, as you know, to learn to
Yeah.
have good ears, mix, master. But for me, it has worked very well because it's a lot of hard work and many years. I read Computer Music magazine for so many years and tried to understand what they were doing and saying, and just
Hmm.
be lazy. Learn to do that and also learn to network. So for me, getting on this Facebook group Perspective was amazing because there are about 15,000 wonderful composers of all levels on there. And I
Wow.
just learned a lot from the high level Hans Zimmers to the starting people starting out. So you get so much
Hmm.
wisdom, and that's often where I got collaborators from and people that I worked with. You could reach out, and
Hmm.
that's actually I got my start working with 6 other women from that group.
Mm.
Putting a female group together. So as a beginner composer, I'd recommend jump in to learn what other composers their experience is, but also to network. Jump on socials.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And last thing, what is it like to be a woman in entertainment?
Ah, yes. I feel very humbled and special to be a woman in entertainment. And obviously, we've been a little underrepresented in the composing and music field,
Hmm.
and sound design and music production field for a number of years for whatever reason. So I'm very proud, and I'm just hoping to make a change in the future for women, especially in composing and music, just to have a high representation of us having
Yeah.
our voice out there. So I feel very honoured and proud and lucky, and that's how I feel. Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, we appreciate your time. One last thing, where can people find you at on social media if they want to get a hold of Jackie Joy, the composer and sound designer?
Yep, Jackie Joy Composer. Jackie Joy Composer. So I'm on, yes, Insta, Facebook, jumping on TikTok as well, and pretty much all the things. But yep, at Jackie Joy Composer.
And that's Jackie, JACQUIE,
That's
Joy.
good. Wow, you did well. JOY,
Yeah.
yes. A little
Yeah.
difficult, but yeah, you can see it up there.
Uh
JAC.
huh. Yeah, it's
Uh,
right there, y'all. Yeah. So,
Jackie Joy on the, what is it? If you can spell it on the web. Yeah, that's.
yeah.
It is difficult to spell, but people don't seem to have problems with it, surprisingly.
Yeah, I like how I spell. Yeah, I really do. Yeah, so thanks again.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, for this interview. I know it's late for me, but it's early for you.
Yes.
Yep. So you can enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I want to
Yeah.
thank everybody who tuned in and who will be viewing this video.
Okay.
Um, as I always say, the video will be rebroadcasted on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn.
Oh,
So, yeah, a
oh,
lot of networks, a lot of
cool.
platforms. But thanks again, Jackie. I will continue to follow your success, and we appreciate it. And I want you to enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
I will do, but I just want to thank you for spotlighting women in entertainment and music. We really appreciate it. Yeah, double
Oh
thumbs up.
yeah, absolutely. Anytime. And you guys are so influential to this world, and it's thriving. And I appreciate the hustle and bustle that you guys have done to contribute to everybody. Like I always tell people, if it wasn't for three women in my life that contributed to the hustle, I wouldn't know what hustle is. So all right.
Yes.
So enjoy. I will talk to you later.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks again, everybody.